particularly not just globally, but for the UK, considering what you guys have just gone through with Brexit?
Well, yeah, Brexit, of course, and also I think what we've just gone through and are going through politically as well. It seems pretty chaotic there to me. Talking to people as I was actually on holiday in England, but you never stop each other. You're always asking people their opinions. And I think my brother summed it up best when he said he thought Britain was going through a mental breakdown. With Boris Johnson, that's his opinion, and you know, this continuation, which the Queen was so amazing, and of course it's such a shame she's gone now, such a shame she's gone anytime.
Well, let's go to Edinburgh again, where we're watching live pictures of the Queen's coffin being carried through the Scottish capital. Emily Gordine is there for us. Emily, could you sum up your feelings or your take on the day?
Yes, I mean, really, it's a historic day. It's the end of an era. How many people have described it? You know, there are people from all walks of life, of all ages, are here. You know, today, kids describe her as the grandma of the nation. Others have looked to her in times of, you know, crisis or instability, because she was such a constant, and she always found the right words in a moment when other leaders didn't. And so the overall sentiment that
Thank you, Renny Joy.
here is a deep connectedness
Watching
to the
kami
Queen,
ng ng
deep,
Queen
personal affection for her.
ng asawa ko, kasi ang asawa ko taga dyan, di ba, British.
Coming here for the better
Kaya
part of
lagi siya
70
nanonood.
she used to come here almost every summer, and that means something to
Yan ang dami. How many people, honey?
She's part of the community. I mean, her mother
20 million people.
she is seen as one of them, and in that way that she connects
May,
to Scotland,
may
she
copyright
also
ba
is a
ito?
uniting figure in a
Nanonood ng
country
TV.
that is
Renny
politically,
Joy. Boss,
you
may
know,
copyright yan.
is quite divided, and that unifying ability was very unique, and that will be missed very dearly.
So a very
Ayaw ma-rotate. Bakit ganun?
As you heard there from Emily. Emily,
In-adjust ko naman yung rotate. Ayaw
how
mag-rotate.
did you feel when you
Loka.
heard about the news of the
Naka-rotate
Queen passing
naman.
away?
Ma'am, baka may copyright strike. Copyright.
Well, I
This
think
one,
it was
honey.
not necessarily shocking, but it
Layo mo
was sort of
kunti.
expected in a way. I mean, she was
Ganun
like
ba?
6.
Layo ko
And
kunti.
yet, it feels very much like the end of an era. She's been around for so
Yeah.
long. I don't know another monarch. I don't know any other head of the United
Yeah.
Kingdom. Say, especially after the debacle with Diana, I think that put him in a bit of a vulnerable spot. And now, listening to his speech, it does feel though like he's trying to step up, like he's trying to be the monarch that his mother was. So I'm sad to see the Queen go, but I'm also hopeful that he will follow in her footsteps. And I think that's sort of how many people feel here. Although, you know, something that I've also noticed here, that there are discussions about, okay,
Malinaw ba? Malinaw.
the Queen has
Daming
now
tao.
passed, what next with the monarchy?
20 million
It's also
people's
an
there.
important question
To
that
watch.
the King has to
20
address in some way or
million.
Will be on
another.
Monday.
So
It's not a
I'm
funeral.
curious to
Oh,
see
it's not a
how
funeral.
the conversation will evolve
Dami tao.
from here on.
The Mayfield will be in London.
Yeah, what now with the monarchy?
Where's that place, honey?
Scotland, Edinburgh.
Scotland.
Well,
Scotland daw ito.
Northumberland, actually, which is a county just beneath
Scotland.
and I was, as I said, I was going about to enter the theatre to see a play, and I think, yeah, Emily has a very good point. You know, what now for the monarchy, and especially in Scotland, nothing will be said in the next week at all. But I think Nicola Sturgeon in the future will see this as a new opportunity. She wants to have another vote on Scottish independence. The Queen Elizabeth was the popular royal. in Scotland. And for people around the world who don't know, there is a certain animosity between England and Scotland, friendly animosity, I should say, but as they know, they tried to a vote for independence some years back and didn't succeed. They want to do it again. Boris Johnson didn't let them, it will be very interesting to watch it. However,
Dami
King
tao.
Charles
Tao.
III is very aware of this as well, and he wants to.
Labo ah.
I'm sure he will do something about it.
Let's just go through Emily one more time. While we can, Emily, just explain to us what we're watching here, the Queen's coffin being carried through the Scottish capital, a procession there with King Charles III.
Yes, so the coffin is now on its way to St Giles Cathedral. It is draped in the Scottish, in the Royal Standard, which is the flag that represents the sovereign here in Scotland. When it was making its way down to
Dami tao.
it also carried flowers on top. These flowers are
Ting pa.
for 24 hours.
Queen
The crown of
Coffin
Scotland
carried
will
through
actually also be on top
Edinburgh.
of the coffin. The interesting thing to know here about this crown of Scotland is that it is the oldest crown jewel that exists in Great Britain, and it's called the Crown of Scotland because Scotland and England weren't always united, and they had
Horse
their
and
own
horse.
crown jewels, and this represents Scotland, and it
Having
really is
horse.
Scotland's way as well of saying goodbye, which I think is very special. So she will lie and rest there for 24 hours.
Magalaw yung kamay ko,
Tomorrow-
my
Well,
goodness.
she will lie and rest there for 24 hours.
Kailangan ko
which means
i-stand.
that people can shuffle their personal goodbyes and pay their tribute, and then tomorrow
Galaw.
the coffin will be flown out to London.
Lalagay ko
It will be
dito.
accompanied by the Queen's daughter, Princess Anne, and meanwhile King Charles will actually then be travelling off to Belfast in Ireland, and later on this week he'll be going to Cardiff in Wales.
Emily Gordon for us there in the Scottish capital, Edinburgh. Thank you very much for your reporting. We're looking at live pictures of a procession carrying Queen Elizabeth's coffin making its way along the Royal Mile in Edinburgh. King Charles leading the procession, so to speak, but behind the coffin, of course, along with his three siblings as it was taken from Holyrood House to St Giles Cathedral. Members of the public getting a chance there to view the procession and the coffin. The procession moving very slowly to give everyone a chance. And members of the public will also have a chance to view the coffin at the cathedral for the next 24 hours, as Emily pointed out there, before it's flown to Buckingham Palace in London on Tuesday, where even bigger crowds are gathering. Our correspondent in London throwing around some huge numbers, before which, of course, is going to mean a huge security operation, one of the biggest London will have ever seen, and some huge waiting times for people who do want to say goodbye to their queen. Some experts saying it could take 20 hours, and you're not going to be allowed to camp in that line. That will be a moving line, so a long night for some people. Robin, it's incredible that people would wait that long. I guess people will be thinking around the world to say goodbye to a queen who was perhaps so far away from them in some respects, who lived a very different life, and didn't have that much to do with their everyday lives.
That's true, but she did have the common touch in a way. The one thing occurred to me seeing all these pictures over the last few days, she had the most amazing smile. She really did. From when she was a young adult, she had this impish smile. And I do know through the grapevine, she had a great sense of humour, evidently. And, you know, she did have some, of course she was royal, she was above us all, she was immensely rich, and, you know, but she had some sort of common touch with the people all the way through her reign. We're all seeing pictures from the past and everything. And somehow she was. Princess Diana had this common touch as well that, of course, affected people so much.
How far they walk?
And I think we're seeing it.
Ani?
Because, I mean,
1 mile.
mentioned
1 mile.
It mentioned 20 billion people, and I know that next Monday they're really worried about controlling the crowds at the funeral, not because get fined, but they're going to be, London's a big place, but you and I both know, I mean, it's quite crowded already, and there are going to be millions of people coming into London to try and pay their respects, because everybody seems to want to do it.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned something interesting before about the Queen having that common touch. I'm sure there are people who would argue with that, but at the same time, this was not a queen who sat around on her throne all day. She had her corgis, she had her horses, she had Scotland.
And how many appointments did she have every year? More than there are days in the year.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier that she was led to take 2 days off, which I believe was Christmas Day and Boxing Day.
Look at
Because we
that
get around
horse,
our televisions
Giovanni,
on Christmas
slithering.
Day, it was pre-recorded. But yeah, she never ever stopped.
Slithering.
She went, I mean, really only in. I mean, I think there was a great change when her husband died. When she lost Philip, it really was a huge thing for her.
Yeah, that finished her off, that
She
did.
should have retired 20 years ago, or more, but it didn't even occur to her that she would retire.
But isn't it great in this day and age to see someone so determined to do their job,
To do their duty. And,
be there, not just
as I said, to surprise me a bit, because I think she's my king.
The people
I was
around
born
there.
in 1953, and she's been mine all the time, but she's been yours all the time. She's been everybody else in Australia, Canada, all the realms and territories. And people knew that she never stopped. She worked extremely hard at her job. Again, people would dispute, she didn't really have a job. So
we saw that in that photo with Liz Truss. It was an incredible photo of her, holding on for that last task and doing such a good job of it, and that huge smile on her face.
Hello, Tilay Vlog.
It was a really cute photo. It was.
Nanood lang tayo ng kay Elizabeth live. Nanonood kasi yung asawa ko eh. Asawa ko kasi Britain. Yeah, nood siya. Watching you mo. Thank you. Thank you, Tilay. Asawa ko nanonood eh. Daming tao.
It is completely private, as we've mentioned earlier. She doesn't reveal her opinion on things, and she was
They are rich, no? You only not.
about politics and how things work and what goes
Royal family are rich,
in the
A
world.
royal family,
And
rich.
she took it very
Royal
seriously.
family,
A lot of the
rich.
politicians sitting in front of her.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
A
lot of camera there.
Picture with their selfies or with their mobile phones on the Royal Mile there in Edinburgh as the Queen's coffin makes its way slowly through the crowds up to St Giles Cathedral, where members of the public will also be able to view the coffin there at the cathedral for the next 24 hours before it's flown to Buckingham Palace in London on Tuesday. As I mentioned before leading the procession,
Tilay.
is King Charles behind the coffin, along with his siblings. And as we
Manood
also
lang
mentioned,
tayo,
this is
manood.
history today, which
Live
not
siya,
only a lot
live.
of Scots, but
What time
a
na
lot of
in
people
UK yan eh?
from will be wanting to be part of, and people from around the world as well.
3 o'clock.
Remembering
3 o'clock daw ngayon sa UK.
connection to so many countries around the world, throughout the Commonwealth, of course, and the important and stable role she played over so many years.
Well, the Commonwealth was one of her great loves. Of course, 54 countries, I believe. You know that she really devoted a lot of time to the Commonwealth, and I don't know whether it's going to continue quite well in her work ethic. I think really, and this is why it's so universal. People admire that, whether they admire the monarchy or anything. One interesting thing I noticed that when you say a royal in any other country, you have to say the country. Queen Beatrix of Netherlands, Juan Carlos of
Marcha.
I know they're not there.
Marcha.
You only have to say Queen
train.
Train.
Or the Queen.
No, sir. To marcha the horse.
And she was the most famous person in the world, I think, undoubtedly. And there's going to be, I mean, for me, it's quite strange. I brought back from England a £20 note because she's on it and she won't be soon. And for me, the new money, no offence to King Charles, but it'll look like Monopoly money to me. You know, that's just one of the things. Everything's going to change. All the heraldry
Yeah, it's all got
that
to
we've
change
seen
now,
of
even the minute.
people in
Huh?
these wonderful
Even the
costumes.
minute
There's going to be a lot of sewing done.
Because on all the
Stitching and unstitching.
Yeah,
British
exactly.
It will be
clean on it.
interesting to see
Yeah.
what does
because
change.
it's dead now, so we're
Yes.
changing all the
Monarchy
money.
Yeah.
goes as far as
Give
King
give that.
Charles goes, this transition from Prince
Worthless
Charles to King
We'll have
Charles.
the king on it.
And also the relationship with so many countries around the world
For people
to the
having
UK. But
struggling
tell me a
for
bit more
financial.
about the Scots. You have just come back from Scotland.
Only did
Um,
it
You got
already.
to talk to people there
Right.
in Edinburgh. What sort of reaction did they have to the Queen's passing away?
Go to the Queen
Very
Estate
shocked,
Company.
very sad, like everybody else.
Even this was something that so many people had
Go.
expected for so long and were surprised.
Well, yes, but it is this thing of when people, we've all had people who elderly members of our family who pass them. That moment when they go there is still shocking, as you know. And the other thing is, I remember somebody rang me up on Thursday about, we've heard the Queen's ill, you know, blah, blah, blah. And my immediate thought was, she's been incredibly in good health for most of her life, and I thought, oh, she'll make it over the weekend. It may sound stupid to say now, but
So it came as a shock to
it
you.
really came very, I mean, part of the family didn't also, we don't know exactly. It did say on the official announcement in the afternoon. So I think, if I remember rightly, I'm talking British time now because I was in Britain, at about midday on that day, the news came out that she was ill. She died within hours of that. So, as I say, a shock. But the Scottish, yes, it's difficult. It's very intriguing what is going to happen in the future because they're not the greatest fans of royalty, nor of the English, perhaps. And I think Nicola Sturgeon will look to take advantage of this, but not yet. Not yet. And I think she's smart. She'll wait in good time to make her point.
Well, right now at this very point in time where seeing the Queen's coffin arrive at St Giles Cathedral after having made its way along the Royal Mile from Palace of Holyrood House, King Charles leading the procession behind the coffin along with his three siblings, members of the public lining the streets, huge crowds coming out to witness history in the making, and all the pomp and pageantry that you would expect of such a royal event. Robin, could you tell me a little bit more about the Queen's legacy? What sort of legacy she will be leaving behind her?
it's an impossible one, isn't it? I mean, she leaves a huge void. I mean, the legacy is, I think, in a way, she's the greatest monarch in of the 20th and 21st century. She would go down in that way. The passing, of course, has been seamless. It's quite interesting what we've seen over the last few days. Things have suddenly come together. The pictures in the city of London. I mean, how did they get all that together? Well, it was all prepared.
Of course, over decades.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And again, I come back to this thing of the glue in that moment of her death. Charles becomes king, and there'll be more pomp and pageantry to come. The legacy is an amazing one. It's an extraordinary legacy that is surpassed, I think, in history. Certainly in the history of the UK, there is no greater monarch that has done so much good and served the country. Well, of course, she's the longest serving monarch anyway, but I mean, it's quite exemplary. I mean, unfortunately, there have been various things in her family that haven't been too good, that we perhaps not the time to speak.
When you talk about not being allowed to voice your opinion or show what your opinion is, that stretch of time through so much social upheaval, political upheaval, social change, unrest, technological change, and we saw the Queen as well keeping up with technology herself. Quite an incredible woman.
That must have been, as I was mentioned, she's just arrived here at St Giles Cathedral. Let's just have a listen in as they prepare to take the Queen's coffin into the cathedral where we will cross into a correspondent who's there.
Hello, Juliet. Mama Juliet. Dance muna. Thank you. Windy. They're wearing boots, wearing skirt.
Well, that's a smile.
Nagpupin yung mouth.
staying there for 24 hours. They'll try to remove.
Catholic, no? Like Pope Francis.
Watching live pictures here on DW
They're
News
having
of
uniform, no?
Queen's Coffin having passed through the Scottish capital, Edinburgh, with thousands lining the streets to watch the coffin now having been taken along the Royal Mile from the Palace of Holyrood House to St Giles Cathedral, where We'll see
I'm
the
surprised
coffin
Harry
now
there.
being placed. A solemn ceremony
Yeah,
was
yeah.
now to be heard as the coffin was brought from the hearse to the cathedral. King Charles, having led the procession behind the coffin along with his three siblings, members of the public, will now be able to view the coffin at the cathedral for the next 24 hours before it's flown to Buckingham Palace in London on Tuesday. And our correspondent is standing by there in Edinburgh to tell us more about the event. Emily Gordine. Emily, tell us what you've been witnessing today.
Yes, I mean, like you saw in the pictures, enormous crowds. I've never seen the Royal Mile so full of people, and it just goes to show how important it is for the people of Scotland to pay their respects and to say thank you and goodbye to the Queen. And when you saw the coffin, you also have seen that it is draped in a yellow-red flag. This is the royal standard of Scotland. It is the flag that represents the sovereign in Scotland. So it is really a very Scottish goodbye in a way. You know, when she left the palace of Holyrood House, you would hear bagpipes play as well. So now that she's at St Giles Cathedral,
They're not
of
wearing
course,
masks.
she'll lie and rest there
Well,
for
they-
the public to say
But
the
do they
personal
wear masks?
goodbyes.
Okay.
Right now, what you will be seeing is the service that has started now, this you know King Charles is there, and his siblings are there, Princess Anne, Prince Andrew, and Prince Edward. Prince Edward's also joined his wife, Princess Sophie, and you know the Queen Consort Camilla also joined the family at St Giles Cathedral. So this is really now a moment where the royal family can, together with the Scottish people, pay their respects to the late Queen at this, this cathedral.
You mentioned the huge crowds turning out there to witness such an historic day. What have the people lining the streets been saying to you?
Good position, they were secure a good position to be able to see this procession going up to St Giles Cathedral. And you know, for many, they drew inspiration from the Queen for her stability. She was a constant and through so many crises. I mean, during the pandemic especially, people said she found the right words to comfort people, but also to carry on in a way. So she will be missed, especially as a constant in times of crisis, but also Queen of the United Kingdom. So she really is someone who brought everyone together, especially in a time of, where there are a lot of political divisions and disagreements. She was the one who was able to unite people, and that will be missed very dearly, and she was very much appreciated for that as well. And we're talking to a lot of kids here as well, and they were saying, she was like the grandmother of the nation. So I think, whether you're young or old or middle-aged, it's she was significant.
Emily Gordine for us there in Edinburgh, covering the funeral of late Queen Elizabeth II. Thank you very much for joining us here on DW News. Bye-bye.
Put whatever you want on now if you want.
Chichiga. Mama Juliet, yung ba? back, Mama Juliet.
Using plants to
Mama
combat
Juliet, hello.
researchers want to purify the
Advertise na.
air with natural methods.
It's already
The
done on it.
results from preliminary tests conducted
Finish
in
na.
real-world conditions are hopeful. And is this cleaning
Російська агресія, ситуація в Україні не буде в прямому ефірі.
Imagine how many portions of lunch are thrown out in the world right now.
Climate change is only half the story. This is much less than waste from just 1 week. How much worse can we get?
Mama Juliet.
We still have time to act.
I'm going all in.
Success. Hit subscribe for more news.
Alto ka, Mama Juliet. Alto ka.
Vibrant habitat and a glistening place of longing.
I like this camera because it's too really
Drift along. Exploring modern lifestyles and
really bright.
meeting people, hearing their dreams. A Mediterranean